Robert and Noah Barnes, how are you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
I am fantastic. I am thrilled to death to be with you guys again. I haven't seen you for about 3 years, I think it was.
Yeah.
I'll introduce you first. Noah is, I guess you're about 13 now, 14, right, Noah?
I'm going to be 14 in a few days.
All right. Well, Noah is the youngest human being ever to walk across America on foot. Noah started when he was 10 years old, and on top of that, he is a type 1 diabetic. So not only is he the youngest human being to ever do it, but he also is the youngest type 1 diabetic to ever do it, which is, both of those are incredible feats. And Noah did that with his dad, Robert Barnes. So I'm here to introduce you two guys and ask you a few questions. And to get us started, and either one of you can jump in with any of the questions. The first question I like to ask everybody is, what gave you the idea to walk across America?
A documentary about Terry Fox.
So,
which documentary?
so Noah was diagnosed with type 1 when he was 16 months old, and he came to me when he was 10 and said, hey, look, he wanted to do something about being a diabetic and what can he do? And I told him go do some research. And he was like, well, I want to do something. I said, well, great, I'll help you with whatever you want. And he watched, there's a documentary called Into the Wind for Terry Fox. And the Marathon of Hope in 1980, when Terry Fox was running across Canada with one leg for cancer, because he had lost a leg for cancer, and he was doing it for that cause. And Noah was so inspired by Terry Fox. And Noah's famous line is, go ahead, tell him what.
Let's march across America.
So, well, he comes to me and goes, look, I can do this. I've got 2 legs and I've got America. We can do this. And so that was the whole concept. And of course, being a sane, rational, parent, I told him no.
Of course. How long did it take him to convince you? Do you remember how many days or weeks or months?
No.
It was
it's a little fun.
It was probably close to 3 months.
Well, your adventure was a family adventure. Your whole family went on the trip. You and Noah actually walked, and I know that because I was fortunate enough to drive down and spend a day with you. But kind of explain how that worked out and how the whole family was involved, if you don't mind, Robert.
So, well, basically, there was 5 of us. So Noah has 2 siblings, John, which is 3 years younger, and Angela, which is 6 years younger. And so what would happen is we had a GPS tracker called Spot, and we pinned our ending point and our starting point every day. And when we were physically in motion, it was a live active feed so people could see us. And more importantly, Mom could track us because, Child Protective Services, we did get called out a couple of times for us to interact with us to make sure that we had, and I was required to carry water, medical supplies, food. Like, they were very fickle on what they needed for me to have on the stroller for Noah. But we would start going, and then Joanne would go to wherever she could find Wi-Fi and do like press releases and do update the website and do that type of stuff while me and Noah were moving. Most of the time in the morning, his brother would come with us, or his sister would ride in the stroller. So if you look at our Facebook page, there's pictures of Angela in the stroller. She's got of the 4,000 miles that we went, she's probably got 1,200 miles in the stroller.
That's unbelievable. I'm going to get off of this screen. Before I get off the screen, Robert and Noah wrote a chapter in this book, Across America on Foot, which is now available on Amazon. It's available as an ebook, and it's also available as a printed book. And there's 27 of us that have walked or run across America. Let me get rid of this screen here. All right, so tell us a little more about your trip, like where you started and where you finished, and how you chose that starting point and finish point.
I think, I'm not entirely sure, but I think I want to go from tip to tip across America.
Well,
Because I don't remember the Canadian route in any shape
so
way or form.
what initially started, because we lived on the eastern coast in Florida, and he has cousins that live in
Oh yeah, I did want to see
in,
my cousins.
in Washington State, just south of Seattle. So his concept was that he would leave our front door and go to their front door. And then when we looked at a map logistically, it made more sense to go from tip to tip. And no, when we tried to find crossers or somebody who had done that route before, we couldn't find anybody. So we just thought it would be interesting to go from Key West to Blaine, Washington, which is the U.S.-Canadian border in the north, the furthest north you can go on the western side, which is north of Seattle. And there's a Peace Arch border there. So that's how that shaped over about 4 weeks-ish. And then how we picked our geographic routes were population. We went to find, because we were trying to engage with people because we were doing it for advocacy. So we kind of moved to as many metro areas as we could find.
Unbelievable. I mean, most of us are anywhere from like 2,950 to 3,100 miles across country. And your total mileage what was your total mileage? It was over 4,000, I know.
It was 4,240 miles.
Right. So you guys, compared to most of the rest of us, it's like going all the way across country and then a third of the way back with a 10, 11-year-old boy and a family. And it was an incredible story. I remember following you, and I remember thinking these guys probably aren't going to make it. But, my wife and I have a daughter with type 1 diabetes too, which is why I ran across the O2 for type 1 diabetes, but I was 46 years old. So I was following you, and I thought, 10-year-old in the family, they're probably not going to make it, but they're doing it for type 1 diabetes. So I followed you guys all along, and there was no doubt once you got to where I met you, which was down like at the Tennessee-Kentucky border, right down around Nashville, somewhere around there anyway. And it was, there was no doubt you guys were going to finish that trip after I met you. I mean, the whole family was into it. Everybody there was no question that you were going to finish no matter what it took. It was truly inspiring. So Noah, do you have a favorite day or a favorite place that you walk through, or I'm sure you have a lot of great memories and a lot of not so great memories, and I'm going to ask you about both. So do you have, either you or Robert, either one of you can chime in.
Well, I have a lot, but since Dad reminded me of the cousins, I think my favorite day was spending time with the cousins.
So we showed up around Thanksgiving in that area, and so spending time with family, because we've been on the road for almost a year at that point, and interacting with family was a highlight for Noah.
How about you, Robert? What was your highlight?
So our first week was in the Keys, and I got to tell you, that was fantastic. I mean, it was beautiful. It was sunny. It was, the whole, tropical. It was amazing.
Even though the first 3 nights were in a mishmash of a house.
Yeah, our first 3 nights we stayed in a halfway house. It was a long story how we got there.
Friend.
Yeah, it's like, I'll be posting more and I'll be putting things, but how we ended up in a halfway house, and Joanne didn't know we were in a halfway house, or she would have probably stopped that. But yeah, that was an interesting launch. Just to get launched, it was as many failures to get going and as many oppositions to get going. It was a rough start.
Well, some of these men and women who have crossed it were in phenomenal shape before they started. And I have to ask about the two of you guys. Did you do any kind of training, or were either one of you distance walkers or runners prior to leaving Florida, leaving the Keys?
Well,
so we did do training, but it was about 13 miles.
So before we announced to anybody that we were going, I wanted to make sure Noah understood what he was going to be taking on. And so I had an opportunity to leave a physical workplace and kind of work from home. And so we spent 5 months training, and his first couple of months were in the summertime in South Florida, and I made him go on the beach with no shoes because the sand was hot, just to prepare his feet, because I want to make sure that we didn't go, 500 miles and he quit, or just like he didn't want to do this anymore. So we incrementally, it was neither one of us were in very good shape, and so we weren't looking at distance, we were looking at time. So we went out, we started with an hour, and then we moved to 90 minutes, then we moved to 2 hours, then we moved to 3 hours, then we moved to 4 hours. And it was just a gradual build. And the last couple of weeks going up to it, it was 6 hours. And I knew if we could be in motion for 6 hours, we would eventually, it would be long, but we would eventually get there. And we were thinking he would do 12 miles-ish a day. And he ended up doing 17 on average. If the days we were in motion, he was averaging 17.
Wow. So now I have to ask you, in those months of training where you started at a half hour, then an hour, then 90 minutes, and walking in the heat in Florida, was there ever a moment where you thought, no, Mom, Dad, I don't think I want to do this? Did you come close to backing out?
I remember a thought that I had, and I thought this is taking a little bit longer than originally anticipated, but
Well, I would ask him while we were going, like, you want to quit? Like, does it hurt?
Yep.
Are you ready? And he would get mad at me. He would physically get mad at me. I think I have a video of him like telling me off, basically, as a 10-year-old would to his father, but basically telling me he's got this, and it's just to stop doing it because it's annoying him, the questioning.
Well, I tell you what, I bet I had forgotten. I remember, before you told, I had forgotten until Noah mentioned it again, that, there's a lot of inspirational stories of people who have run or walked across America. But Noah is still, to this day, is my favorite. I watched, there's dozens of videos on YouTube about Terry Fox's run across Canada and how he died before he finished it. He got like 90% of the way across, but I end up in tears every time I watch one of those videos. And I can't think of anybody who would be more inspiring for, even a 46-year-old man like I was, but much less a 10-year-old than Terry Fox. I mean, if anybody watching this video doesn't know Terry Fox, or you haven't don't know that story, go to YouTube and search Terry Fox run across Canada. It's truly incredible. So you guys were doing it for diabetes, which is a cause near and dear to me, which is why I ran across too. But did you log, or do you know how many diabetics that you talked to across country?
We did not track it, but it was into the thousands. Because we would go, so one of the things we did is we went to college campuses that had research departments for type 1. And so, like, the University of Florida has a pretty big one. And we, just in that one event, there was, 500 people there. And then they put on a 5K for Noah. And so we physically went and did an event with them. And I forget how many participants were there. And we went to University of Chicago, and we went to Vanderbilt, and we went to these different, so we, into the 5,000 maybe of people we interacted with. And people and type 1 families would come out and find us, and just, he would spend a few hours at least once a week with a type 1 family, and their kid would come out and just, because in a type 1 environment, when a kid gets it, they feel that their life is over. It's a very sad thing to see a kid go through.
Except I got it 16 months old, and I don't remember anything.
Right.
I only remember John Richards when I was 5 years old, and that's about it.
So,
Well, you guys must have got a whole lot of media too. I mean, I got pretty much, but I remember just spending about a half a day or 3/4 of a day with you. You got some media that day, and I know 3 or 4 different families came and walked with you, and that one day alone. So do you have any idea how many newspapers you were in, or how many TV spots you were on?
so he did 371-ish interviews, and that's just the ones that we're aware of. There were other news outlets that were grabbing stuff and republishing it from the AP Wire, and then he had coverage, ironically, in Europe. Like, we were getting letters from Europe and we were getting posts from that. We had to use Google Translate to see what they were saying. So I don't know how far this went, but it was pretty impressive. He would get interviewed almost every day that we were in motion.
I have no idea how we would find this out, but I can't think of anybody else. I mean, Pete Kostelnick got a lot of media. I'm sure Dean Karnazes, when he did it, I know he got a lot of media, but I'd be willing to bet nobody came even close to 300 some media events like you did, Noah. I mean, that just speaks volume. I know I'm inspired that I got to meet you. But the other thing I have to ask is, of all the people I know, and I follow a lot of them that have walked or run across country, you're the only one I know that when you guys finished up in Washington, I don't know how long you stayed, but didn't you then ride a bicycle back, Robert? Is that right?
Yes. So I was looking because, we're a very competitive family, and I couldn't have my son have the only world record. And so I was trying to think of what I could do. And I went looking for somebody who had, walked or ran across and then got on a bicycle and went back. And I actually got the idea from Doug Musick, because he had talked about how he had walked and then he had biked back. And so, yeah, we went down to Santa Monica. We got ready to go, and I got on a bicycle that following Saturday and bicycled to Tybee Island in Georgia. And that was much shorter. That was roughly 2,700 miles.
Unbelievable. So I know I have to ask you this too, since it was your entire family, the two of you walking and some of your other family members walking at different parts of each day. But I know I had one sickness where I had like a virus or something for 3 days, 4 days. Did either one of you get sick at all on your epic crossing?
Well, I got the sniffles one day. I did, and I had Mexican food, and my stomach hurted. So yeah, but Angela did throw up.
So we were very fortunate. Nobody on the walk event got sick. Noah. So going through different areas and doing different food allergies in different areas, Noah would constantly throw up. There were certain things that he would disagree with him. There were many days he'd get up in the morning and his stomach would be gargling and he'd throw up in the first mile or so and then put on 24 miles. So it was just, but for sick, no sickness. How we did it, because we weren't so structured like a Pete or a lot of people that were very structured. We could care less about how many miles we covered in the day. We just got up in the morning and we were just going to go as far as his feet could carry him. And when he was done, because he controlled the pace and the timing, when he was done, we were done. And his best mileage, he did a marathon 5 times. His worst day was a quarter mile. Got out of the car, wasn't feeling well, threw up.
And then walked and stopped.
And he could see, he goes like, I don't feel good. I said, well, let's just move and see how you feel if we get moving. I said, pick a target and we'll go there. And then if you don't want to go anymore that day, then we'll stop. And he could see a stop sign, not even a quarter mile. It might have been 1,000 feet. And he's like, okay, we're going to the stop sign. And he got there and he was done.
No, the stop sign was Mom's idea. I'm like,
oh yeah, mom picked the stop sign. Because I was trying to find a target that we could wreck it. But yeah, it was 1,000 feet maybe, like not even a quarter mile. But yeah, so that was his shortest day.
Well, speaking of Mom here, I have to throw this in since I was fortunate enough to get to meet not only the two of you, and you guys are obviously both heroes to every diabetic across the country and to all of us runners to imagine doing this at 10 years old. But another hero in the family, and man, I really stressed it when I was with you guys, and neither one of you argued the point. I think you know how spectacular Noah's mom and Robert's wife Joanne is. I mean, to not only drive support, but to drive support and have 2 younger children in the support vehicle for 4,200 miles. That's almost a bigger, not a bigger challenge than what Noah did, but I'd say a bigger challenge than what you did, Robert, honestly. So kudos to Joanne.
Yeah, this is not possible. This whole thing was not possible without Joanne. Joanne carried. It is the hardest of all the things to do. The support was by far the hardest. She did it out of a Jeep Wrangler, which we didn't have an RV. We didn't have, we had figured out how to function out of a Jeep Wrangler, and she figured out how to homeschool, and she figured out how to, prep food on a budget. And there was a lot of challenges and a lot of logistics involved, and she pulled it off without a hitch. Like, she's got, people are asking her to tell a story on how to do that from a support position. And she's doing it. She's being forced to do it. So there'll be stuff you'll see about her, but by far, make or break is support. If you don't have support in this kind of environment, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, and on top of 2 kids, a packed Jeep, and I mean fully packed, there was not 1 square inch available of empty space in that Jeep, because I saw it that day. And I had no idea how you could get that much stuff into 1 Jeep and have room for 5 people and a dog. There was a dog there too, right?
Yes, we had our dog.
Yeah, he was isolated, got stressed out, and he got very protective when he got stressed out.
So he made it to Kansas City, and then we had an incident where somebody recognized Noah, a little girl ran up to say hi to Noah, and she was screaming, and the dog thought that she was trying to attack him and nipped at her arm. And because he scratched her skin, it was considered a blood bite. And in that county, they could have sued the family we were staying with, or we could put the dog down. And we elected to put the dog down. That was probably the most painful part of the sacrifice Noah had. And he
cried for a few
weeks. It was weeks. He would cry himself to sleep. It was a very painful event for that whole thing.
Yeah, now we're like road.
Well, I guess the final question I'll ask you guys is, now that you both have a taste of distance, an epic distance event, both on foot and on a bike, are there any thoughts of anything in the future? Are you totally shot, burnt out on distance events, or is it something either one of you are thinking about doing, tackling another challenge?
Well, Dad brought forward the idea of, marching across America, but it would take 3 months. But instead of marching, we would run. 2 years from now, when I'm 16.
So Guinness won't recognize him until he's 16. So the conversation we're having is,
I want to be recognized by the world?
Like, does he want to be in the Guinness Book of World Records? And so 2 years from now, so his birthday is the 27th. So 2 years on the 27th, 2 years from now, how fast can he run across America just to get the recognition from Guinness?
So you're telling me that as of now, Noah is not in the Guinness Book of Records for being the youngest human to walk across America? He's not in it?
They don't recognize any endurance event under the age of 16.
And this is little kids, like 3-year-olds, from jumping off cliffs.
So
bungee jumping.
So their letter, they sent us a very nice letter, but they said that they didn't want to, participate in like child endangerment.
Right. I can see that. Well, anyway, coming from a type 1 diabetic parent and a family where my father and my grandfather both died from diabetes, I and I'm sure the millions of other diabetics, and I know you met thousands of them on your journey across America. What you did for diabetes is spectacular, and we are making strides. Since you guys did that, the funding is up for diabetes research through NIH. I followed it, so I'm sure very appreciative, and I am so grateful that I got to meet you guys. Now I'm going to get back to the book again here real quickly. So I don't remember. What chapter are you guys in the book? Do you remember, Robert?
21.
Robert and Noah have chapter 21 in this book, Across America on Foot. It's a compilation of 27 stories of men and women and one 10, 11-year-old boy who walked or ran across America. Thanks so much for participating. Love you guys. Love your whole family.
We appreciate you, Jim. Thank you so much.